Hey guys, what's up? So today's video is going to be all about the negatives of owning a ferret, or in my case, 5 ferrets. I really tried to come up with 10 things for this because I feel like 10 was just like a good number, but I couldn't come up with 10 things. I could only come up with 8. I'm sure there's other things that I haven't thought of on here that could be considered a negative to owning ferrets. If you can think of anything else that I don't mention in this video, leave it in a comment below for anyone who might be interested and curious about what the negatives of owning a ferret might be. I also just want to state that I do not think that all of these things are negative for me personally. I wrote all the ones down that I could think of that other people might think of as negatives. So the first one is that they are time consuming and a lot of work. Ferrets live anywhere from 6 to 10 years on average, and they require at least 4 hours out of the cage every single day in that time. And when they're out, they need to be stimulated with toys or playing or like other ferrets, just something that will keep them occupied and get them burning energy and having fun. You also need to be vigilant about washing their cage and their bedding and making sure they have food in their dishes and fresh water every day. If you decide to feed your ferret raw, then you're going to need to stick to a pretty strict schedule to ensure that they are getting all the nutrients that they need. Number 2 is that ferrets can be quite costly. Now, when we first got a ferret, it was Mika. And she was a gift for Nick that I got him for Christmas 2 years ago. And the startup for getting a ferret is really expensive, including the ferret itself. The cage, the bedding, the food, toys, it all came up to around $500, and that was just to start up. That's not like monthly or anything like that. It definitely doesn't cost that much every month, but that was just to start up, to get everything that she needed. Vet bills can be really high and also unexpected, so you always want to be prepared and try to have money put aside on the off chance that something happens. And that could be something as small as, you know, just a regular checkup, or something as serious as, in our case, our ferret Thomas's hind leg broke and we needed to rush him to the vet. So it can go from like a regular checkup, which is about $90, to a full-on checkup with multiple appointments following, and then a leg amputation that could come up to $3,000. So you always want to be prepared for the expenses of a vet as well. As for food, you want to make sure that they always have food. A healthy diet for your ferret, for us, for 5 ferrets, costs anywhere from $60 to $90 a month, and that might be stretching it a little bit, but it's about $35 a bag of food. And I just switched them to this food, so I'm not sure how many bags I'm going to go through in a month with them yet, but I believe it'll probably be 2 to 3 bags a month. Number 3 is finding a ferret sitter. So you need to find someone that you trust that can look after your ferret while you are away. Now that could be camping, vacation, if you're sick and in the hospital, like anything. You just want to make sure that you have someone you trust to take care of your ferret, because it is different than just taking care of a cat or a dog. You just want someone that you trust around them to keep them safe while they're playing outside of the cage, to keep their litter clean and their food and water topped up. Number 4 is ferret hygiene. You want to make sure that you stay on top of keeping their claws trimmed, because if you don't, they can get caught on things and that can cause them a lot of stress and discomfort. You also want to make sure you're brushing their teeth to prevent like things like gingivitis, and then, as I said before, costly vet bills. And you're going to also want to make sure you're giving your ferret baths every once in a while. I would say like every 3 or 4 months maybe. And bathing your ferret can be a struggle for some ferrets that just don't like baths. And if your ferret doesn't like a bath, like none of mine do, they're going to spend the entire time trying to climb your arms with their claws, digging right in, and also trying to jump out the side of the bath, which will just get you completely soaked. Number 5 is ferret biting. Now, when you get a new ferret, if it's a baby or even an adult that wasn't handled much, they will be extremely bitey. It's just the way that they are. They just bite. You have to be extremely vigilant and persistent when you're training them not to, and you can't do it with like hurting them. You can't smack them on the butt or like yell at them. They're not going to understand that. So you have to scruff and drag them and just keep doing that until they get it. And while you're doing that, like make a hissing sound or say a firm no, and eventually they will understand and stop, but getting from A to B can take some time. With most of our ferrets, they learned pretty quickly, but our most recent ferret, Eleanor, she is extremely bitey, and we've had her since September. So we've had her for about 4 months, and she's still biting. She doesn't always bite quite as hard, but she does still do it, and it does cause a little bit of stress for us. Number 6 is litter box training. So you could have a litter box that is perfectly sized. You could be using the proper litter, like it's not going to irritate your ferret or hurt them, and they still might go right beside the litter box. I honestly haven't figured out a way to stop this. They will use the litter box 90% of the time, and then the other 10% they're just like, I'm going to go right beside it. Yeah, sounds like a good idea. So you're also going to have to be prepared for little poop mines, and you're going to need to make sure you have some paper towel handy so that you can clean it up. Number 7, are ferrets cuddly or not? The answer is usually no. Ferrets are not typically cuddly pets. You will every once in a while come across one that might be more cuddly than the others. For instance, our late ferret Thomas was extremely cuddly. He absolutely loved laying inside of my sweater pockets if I was wearing a pullover hoodie, and he just loved laying in my lap and just being really close to me. And then we have our ferret Mika, who likes to lay beside me in a chair curled up on my blanket, but not for long periods of time. And then the rest of our ferrets aren't cuddly at all. They will not cuddle with you for more than like 2 seconds. And usually the whole time they're squirming. So if you're looking for a cuddly pet, the odds are that you're gonna have trouble finding a ferret that is cuddly. Number 8 is ferret illness. When your ferret gets older, they're gonna be prone to illnesses like insulinoma, adrenal disease, and lymphoma. As far as I know, these are all treatable, but I'm not exactly sure how treatable they are or how well they work, but I do know that they're probably quite costly. And as I said before, if you don't have money put aside, then there's really nothing you can do. Our ferret Thomas was only a year old when we found out he had lymphoma, and within the span of a month, it went from finding out he had a tumor to exploratory surgery to try and remove it, to during the surgery finding out that there was nothing they could do as the tumor was on his small intestine. It had spread everywhere, and they could sew him back up and, you know, let him live out the rest of his life, but he was obviously not comfortable and was in pain, so we made the decision to have him put down. And it's extremely hard because he was so young. We didn't expect this to happen until they were older. Even though it is more common that it happens when they're older, it can also happen when they're very young. And it's really devastating when it happens because ferrets are very easy to love and losing them is extremely hard. So those were the 8 things that I could think of that could be considered negatives to potential ferret owners. As I said, I don't believe that all of these are negatives. For instance, taking them out for 4 hours a day for the next like 6 to 10 years, that's fine by me. I absolutely love spending time with them. But other things like, you know, the vet bills and the costs of getting started and everything, that could really deter a person from, you know, making the decision to get one because it can get quite expensive. As I said before, if you can think of any other things that could be considered a negative to getting or owning a ferret, please leave it in the comments below for anyone who might be interested and just curious about, you know, whether or not they should take the jump and, you know, adopt one. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you in my next one. Bye!